Good evening, everyone. Would you please join us in a salute to the flag, and then would you remain standing afterwards? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Leventhal?
Well, I'd like to take a minute to congratulate Mrs. Larry.
You're not on. Use your microphone.
I'd like to take this minute so that we can congratulate Mrs. Laria on attaining her Master of Public Health.
Yeah.
India, you're so amazing. You have such a busy life and a strong commitment to every part of it. And we know as you continue in your healthcare career that you'll be an excellent example for what one person can do for so many. Thank you for being on.
And you can shut them off. We also just, as we're standing and celebrating, we also want to recognize Mr. Brownlee's wedding anniversary tonight. Now, here's a guy who should be home or someplace, and here he's spending his time with us. So thank you very much, Mr. Brownlee. Okay, why don't we sit down?
Wait, no, while we're at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Because we celebrated it early. You can start to sit down. This is Mr. Ryan's birthday today, 52 years old. 52.
It's not accelerated any more than it's accelerated. Okay?
Ms. Leventhal and I are just plain tonight. We have nothing. So, sorry for taking a few minutes. We were in there trying to sort some things out. We do like to try to start on time, but this one just, we couldn't get out here. Let's see if I have that.
You okay?
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws, 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2013 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2012, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mrs. Laria?
Here.
Mrs. Leventhal?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Okay. Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meeting Act, requires that all meetings of the public body be open to the public, and whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and where it is the desire of this governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, and at the same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee by the Township of Maplewood that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberation of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to observation of the actions and the discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much. And welcome to our meeting of May 21st. We are going to go through the agenda. We're going to have a proclamation for Our Lady of Sorrows' 125th anniversary, more than all of us put together here. Or maybe not. No. Not with you, 52, that's right. Then we're going to we're going to read the municipal budget by title. We're going to do a budget amendment. And then we're going to consider the adoption of the amended budget for 2013. And do we have a script
Yes, sir.
for that? Yes. You're going to hand it out? Somewhere. Okay, and then we're going to have two other budgets that are going to be presented this evening. We're going to have the budget of the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District for 2013, and then we'll also have the budget for the Springfield Avenue Partnership Special Improvement District for 2013. Each of these will be a hearing, so you'll be allowed to come up and make comments on any of those budgets. After that, we'll have our public comment period, and that's item number 12 on the agenda. And by the way, if you would like an agenda, we have them up here on the clerk's desk. We have introduction of a new ordinance. This will increase the fees for ambulance services in town from $600 to $800. We have 3 discussion items. One is the post office redevelopment. We'll do an update on the plan, next steps, and a timeline for action. We'll also be discussing the evaluation of PSE&G site as an area in need of rehabilitation. And then the Women's Club will be giving a report from the task force and discussing a format for public input on the future use of the building. We'll have our consent agenda, and on the consent agenda, we have a couple of resolutions of contracts, bills and claims, minutes of the May 7th meeting. Then we'll have reports from departments, administrative reports, reports from elected officials. I'm sorry, after the consent agenda, we have another public comment period, so if you'd like to comment at the end of the meeting. Then we have administrative reports, reports from elected officials. So before I ask Mr. Ryan to go up, he's going to do the proclamation for Our Lady of Sorrows. I would like to, and you can just remain seated, if we could just take a moment of silence for all those folks in Oklahoma who faced that horrible weather out there, and you know, so many people lost their lives, including so many children in the schools there, the 2 schools that got hit. So if we could just take a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Mr. Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor.
And then if the folks from Our Lady of Sorrows can come on up. And then after you get your proclamation, you can leave. You don't have to stay. It's not a quid pro quo here. Get the budget.
So this is a proclamation recognizing an important anniversary for Our Lady of Sorrows Church, church which is in South Orange, but which a lot of folks in Maplewood belong to as well. Whereas Our Lady of Sorrows was founded in April of 1929 and was dedicated by Bishop Thomas J. Walsh in June of 1931. It is the second church building erected by the parish. The earlier church, formerly known as St. Mary's, stood on the corner of Academy and 4th Street and was dedicated in September of 1889. Our Lady of Sorrows was designed by the Boston architectural firm of McGinnis and Walsh in the French Gothic style, a popular idiom of church architecture in the 1920s. And whereas the church building has throughout the ages stunned its visitors and parishioners with its many elaborate carved oak structures and stained glass windows, which have portrayed 3 historic themes throughout the church, and whereas the Church of Our Lady of Sorrows owes its history to the many pastors who've guided the church and its school through years of existence, it's also a story of steady expansion and ambitious building programs. It's the evidence of the loyalty of its host of parishioners displayed in contributions of talent, time, and treasure. It is the countless number of graduates of its parish school and the sisters and lay teachers who've taught them. And all is colored to some degree by the character and spirit of the times as they changed from the early years to the present. Therefore, Victor DeLuca, Mayor of the Township of Maplewood, on behalf of the Township Committee, congratulate Our Lady of Sorrows Church for its 125 years of service to our community and its years of service to improving the human condition in our local communities. So I will give you this.
On behalf of the entire parish family of Our Lady of Sorrows, thank you, Mayor DeLuca, for the proclamation, and to the Township of Maplewood also. And we look forward to continue to work with you and to partnership within the community for many, many more years. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move into our budget, and believe it or not, we have a script here. I'm going to ask somebody who would like to volunteer to be a member.
Mayor, I have a resolution regarding the reading of the budget.
And then we were only just going to go through the parts right now, but that's who you are, Mr. Ryan. And then we need somebody to be another mayor. That's you, Ms. Leventhal? Okay. Mr. Ryan.
Mayor, I have a resolution regarding the reading of the budget.
You're an actor.
The clerk will read the resolution.
Okay, Resolution 102-13, resolution to read 2013 municipal budget by title.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
I second the motion.
Ms. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. So the resolution is adopted. We'll now have a public hearing on the budget. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
I move that the budget hearing be opened.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes, go ahead. Roll call.
Mrs.
Yes.
Laria?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan? Mayor
Yes.
DeLuca?
Yes.
Thank you.
The budget hearing is now open.
Just a second.
Part to read.
You have a,
Yes, Mayor, this is a time fixed for the public hearing of the 2013 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the governing body on March 19, 2013, was advertised as required by law on March 28, 2013, together with notice of hearing for this time. Printed copies have been made available to the public during the past week, and a supply is here for anybody desiring a copy.
and then if you haven't secured a copy, it looks like this, and we have some up here on the clerk's desk. And then basically, just like anything, we ask if you want to come up, just give us your name and address, and if you have any comments or questions, please offer them. And so at this point, I declare the public hearing on the 2013 municipal budget open. Is there anyone who'd like to make a comment? Don't rush. Okay. Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Mayor, I move the hearing be closed.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Mr. Ryan,
Mayor, I have a resolution to present at this time amending the municipal budget for the year 2013.
clerk will read the resolution.
Yes, resolution to amend budget for the year 2013, Resolution 104-13.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
I second the motion.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mayor, I request that the clerk be instructed to read Section 2, the adopting resolution for the budget.
Yes, Resolution 105-13, be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Maplewood, County of Essex, that the budget herebefore set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated in the sums therein set forth as appropriations.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Okay.
Believe we're finished. You have anything for us, Mr. Foucault?
No, hopefully we'll send this to the county. The state didn't have to review our budget this year because we're eligible for what they call self-review. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we should get a certified tax rate from the county tax.
And why are we eligible for self-review?
I'm sorry?
Why are we eligible for
Because
self?
we meet certain conditions, and the conditions are percentage of collections is high. We haven't defaulted on any of our debt. We don't have any over expenditures, so we are technically in financial good shape.
Technically.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Freslone? You have anything you want to add? Yippee, okay. You now
Don't
have
be
a
so
budget.
enthused, Peter.
You now have a budget. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
We're now going to move on to item number 10. And this is a presentation to the governing body on the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District budget for 2013. We have you come up. Introduce yourselves and give us a rundown.
Good evening, I'm John James, the president of the Maplewood Village Alliance, and I'm here with our village manager, Julie Doran. A summary of our budget for 2013. is total expenses and revenue of $69,850. Of that, it calls for a $13,500 contribution from the Township Committee. This is essentially a flat budget from last year. There's a reduction of approximately $5,000 for the deletion of a special item that was funded last year, but all other categories are essentially flat across this budget. It does maintain our current expenses and administrative, design and streetscape, marketing, events and promotions, Dickens Village, and miscellaneous expenses for working with co-chamber events. So we're requesting that the Township Committee approve our budget. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Okay. We're going to accept this now. Mr. Desiderio, this is a hearing date following publication. So we have a hearing coming up. We're not going to be doing the hearing tonight. Correct. Okay. So if there are no questions, can we get a motion to accept this budget?
Could we just, when would the hearing, what's the date for the hearing?
It gets established following publication, notification to property owners. So what do we normally do?
I don't know, Joseph. I would think it's got to probably be at least a month.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Time to get all the things out.
So is it just acceptable to have a resolution accepting this without knowing the date of the hearing? That's all I'm asking.
You're just accepting it, you're not approving it.
Okay, so in that case, I move to accept the budget as submitted.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made to and seconded to accept the budget of the, do you have something? No. Of the Maplewood Village Alliance. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. So your budget has been accepted by the governing body. We will establish a date. What we do is we publish it in the news record, and then we mail a copy of the budget to every property owner in the district. And then there'll be a date established for a hearing, and then there'll be a final adoption at that time. Generally, our clerk is not here tonight, but generally, the turnaround's about a month from the time we accept it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the presentation by the Springfield Avenue Partnership Special Improvement District and their budget for 2013. Your budget is about twice as big, so you're bringing 4 people up.
That's right.
Very good.
Good evening. My name is Jim Nearing. I'm the president of the Springfield Avenue Partnership.
Illa Turner-Cartledge, and I'm the treasurer.
Dr. Dion Williams, 54 Burnett Terrace.
Member of the board. Yeah, the budget we're presenting is actually slightly less in revenue, slightly more in programs than we had last year. We have a reserve that we're carrying forward of several $1,000s from last year, and that'll cover the reduction in revenue that we anticipate. Fundamentally, it's flat year over year without any changes. Our programs will be virtually the same as they were prior year. We anticipate, doing a good job on the festivals that we hold throughout the year.
And I know Mayfest was canceled because of the rain. When is that going to be held?
Mayfest will be Sunday,
It'll be this Sunday, the 26th,
May 26th.
from noon to 5 p.m.?
That's correct.
So same time, same place, just a little different date.
Yep.
Rides, pony rides, food, entertainment, everything's coming back. Okay. And the rain is not going to happen?
No, won't happen.
Not happening, okay. Any comments or questions for the Springfield Avenue Partnership? Ms. Leventhal?
The town's contribution to this budget is $20,000.
$20,000, yes. And that's a one-for-one. We have a contract for $20,000 to do the township cleaning and landscaping, so it's just a pass-through.
Okay, can we get a motion to accept this budget?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Before you leave, Mr. Nearing, you want to make an announcement about some changes?
Yes.
Could you get a little closer to the microphone?
Sorry. Beginning on July the 1st, we have a new district manager joining us, which is Julie Doran, who happens to be
Hey,
the...
Julie, can you come up? Maybe we can get Pat to take a picture of the outgoing and new manager.
As I said, she begins on July the 1st officially.
And what's happening with our current manager up there?
I want to thank,
Could you use the mic?
oh, sorry. Of course, we want to thank everything that specifically Diana Vetrano has done for us over the years and their entire organization. They've worked very, very hard, and we appreciate everything they've done.
Great. So, Diana, thank you for everything.
And thank you for the opportunity. It was a good few years of helping the district. We have done a lot of communication. I think we've gotten a lot of the vendors or the business owners on board, recognizing what the partnership has done and what the partnership has yet to do. So I wish my successor a wonderful continuation of what we've done, and I'm sure you bring your own skills and opportunities to Springfield Avenue Partnership.
Great. Julie, would you like to say hello?
I think I know everyone here. Hello. I'm very excited about the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'll miss working with Diana. And a good partnership.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, next is our public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Just ask you to come up and give us your name and address or affiliation in the case of the County of Essex.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Collins, Director of Small Business Development and Affirmative Action for the County of Essex and the Essex County Liaison to the Township of Maplewood. We have two announcements for you this evening. The first is an event on Saturday, June 15th called Muckfest MS New Jersey. It will be held at the Essex County South Mountain Reservation, and it is a 100% of the fundraising dollars going to the National MS Society. Muckfest, as I just learned actually, is a come as you are and get as dirty as you like. Moon-sized craters of mud and gigantic steel-constructed obstacles will wipe you out and make you laugh, so we're promised. And I think the next announcement is one that many people look forward to every year, and that is the Essex County Summer Music concert series. Everybody's very excited about it. We have lots of really good entertainment for you this year. Starting with June 25th in Memorial Park in Newark. I won't read it all, but I will mention that in Brookdale Park on July 2nd, we will have the ever-famous fireworks display at 7:30 p.m. And the music will be the Infernos, and many other wonderful, wonderful acts will appear. One of my favorites, the Stylistics, will be appearing on Friday, July 26th at Brookdale Park. So I've left information with the clerk's office, and we invite everyone to attend. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Hi, Richard Wenner, 37 North Terrace. I'm here because a group of citizens have been meeting occasionally over the last month or so to talk about the plans for the post office redevelopment. The group includes a number of people who are I am not an architect, a number of people who are architects, others of us who have various other connections to this kind of development. And we were doing this because we recognize that the post office site is central to the character of the town and the future of the town, and because we felt that it was critical that it be done in the best way possible, and therefore not that we thought that you don't feel that way, but we thought that the most possible support that could be brought, the better. So the group, as I said, put together some thoughts on what could be done on for the post office redevelopment. A number of those were presented at the planning board meeting last week. I have to say that all of us were extraordinarily pleased at the openness and receptiveness of both the planning board and the members of the township committee that were there to the comments we made, and so we thank you for that. There were a couple of, and so you've seen those before. I'm not going to repeat those. There'll be the items that were adopted into that meeting will be coming to you in the report from the planning board. There were a couple items that we had discussed that were more process items, and it was noted that was more appropriate to bring directly to you than to the planning board. So I want to mention them now, and then I can leave you either a hard copy or maybe even better if you want, I can send you the comments as an email attachment following this. But basically, there's two items that I wanted to mention. The first is that we recommend, in the strongest way we can, the development of a design review advisory committee. Design review advisory committee. Essentially a group of citizens of the town, some of whom would have professional design experience. There's a number of very talented professionals in town. There's a suggestion in this. I'm not going to read through the details of everything we suggest. This is in that same piece that was presented by Alex Brazeno at that planning board meeting. But the basic notion is that there's a lot of expertise on this township committee, but architecture, as far as I know, is among the expertise that you all have. And there is a lot of thought that goes into good design that's more than just looking at something and saying, hey, it looks nice. Good design has a lot going underneath the surface before it even gets to appearance, and appearance is also obviously important. We think that the town deserves to have a design review committee in general, and we're proposing the development one to be beta tested with the post office review, at which point we would suggest you go back and look over how it functioned and eliminate it or change it, improve it as a permanent and standing advisory committee to the town. So we'll have some details. I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but we'll have some more details about what we're recommending in that. We think that there's the other thing that we want to point out is that we think it's critical for this kind of design review committee to have access to development at the earliest stages of development. And it's not, for a committee like this to see plans in the final stages is very close to worthless and a waste of their time, but getting in at the very beginning when you're talking about initial thoughts, getting in the review for the RFP, site plans, all of that stuff can make a huge difference. In the early stages, obviously, when you have the big lever, small suggestions can make a big change. So that's the first suggestion. The second suggestion, based on a number of experiences that members of our group have had, a number of development processes they've seen, and again, we spell it out in more detail that I'll leave with you, but suggest that instead of the simple RFP process going out in the traditional way that we tend to do it, that you consider what's called an RFQ and RFP process. There's a number of projects that I've studied in the work that I've done, a number of that people on our group have been involved in actually, and there's a couple advantages of doing it this way, just to be really clear. RFQ means a request for qualifications, RFP is a request for proposals. There's a number of advantages of it. One of the advantages is an RFQ allows you to essentially to cast a very broad net, to get a very wide range of proposals in, of team qualifications in, and to review those to identify those that you think are the strongest, that meet the standards that you're setting for the project and the qualifications you're most looking for, and then to pick a number and suggest to them that they are qualified and you would accept full proposals from that smaller number. So it gives you the benefits of both. Gets you a lot of people potentially interested. I mean, I've seen projects, we studied a project this year in the Bronx, a much bigger project, they got 35 or approximately 35 proposals for the RFQ. They narrowed it down to 4, from whom they got very detailed actual proposals. So we think there's some serious benefits to this. We'd like you to look at it and consider it. That's basically the suggestions I have. Again, I'll be happy to follow this up with an email. I can leave these couple pages with you if you'd like. The first page is what we also had given you at the planning board, but we're happy to.
Yeah, if we could get that, if you could send that to us tonight, we have a meeting Thursday in which we're going to be talking about this. Just a quick response. You know, we have a design review committee with the Village Alliance. You're suggesting another entity.
We're suggesting a design review committee which could include that. And in fact, as you see, the suggestions there suggest that that people from the Village Alliance could be a part of that. I think it broadens it to the town, and it makes it a permanent standing committee that responds to you. So we think a more systematic. We have no problem, by the way, with the people that are on the Alliance committee. This is not a criticism.
I can tell you that we probably would not have two design review committees. So whatever we do is going to have to be consolidated in some way. The other thing is that we do not use requests for proposals. We use RFQs, or what we used in the police station. We used an RFQ, and then we used the letter of interest, which is essentially an RFQ.
Yeah.
So we don't get to the proposal. We look at who's qualified, what they've done, and then we go and do a deeper dive with them and talk about it.
We're suggesting actually considering going through that full process of the RFQ to narrow it down, then a full RFP from.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we do.
I understand.
Okay.
Good. That's it. Thank you.
Any comments, questions?
No, I guess the question that comes to mind is how one would get on. I don't. That's not a question for today, but how one would get on such a design advisory committee.
Question.
How would one get on it?
Our presumption is that you would appoint the way you do to all your advisory committees.
I mean, it seems to me, we have an existing committee. If we wanted to ask that committee to broaden its focus or broaden its scope a little bit for a particular project, that might be more productive than trying to come up with another structure for another committee, maybe.
Well, there's a lot of issues. Who appoints whom, and you're talking about one system where this committee would be appointed by the Township Committee. Right now, the Design Review Committee of the Village Alliance is not appointed by the Township Committee. So I think there are some issues of jurisdiction decision-making that have to be ironed out, because that does get to be, a question. How do you do this?
I understand that, and there's a lot of ways to do it. Obviously, among other things, I think it would be useful for the committee to have a broader jurisdiction than just the.
No, I understand what you're proposing, but you're also talking about using the post office as the first up to bat.
Yep.
So we got to figure out. I mean, there may be something we can do a short-term decision, and then see how that goes. As you say, test it, and then maybe figure out some longer-term.
We would have no problem with that, and members of our group would be more than happy to sit and talk with you and work with you on that, to the degree that you want it.
Where did that piece of paper go?
I gave it to Matt. I asked her to make copies.
She'll
for
make
the
copies,
township.
so we'll get copies. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to address the Township Committee?
Hi, Dave Helmkamp, 571 Prospect. I've actually forgotten during the discussion portion of the agenda, is it a dialogue?
No.
No, okay, and I'd just like to add to request that during the discussion of the post office, that you review the agenda for the special meeting of the planning board next Tuesday and clarify whether or not there'll be any additional discussion of the document or whether it's strictly memorializing last week's meeting. And then also what you believe to be the next date for an updated draft of the document.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Okay. Seeing no one, we will close this public comment period, and again, we will have another one later on in the meeting. We are now on item number 13. We have an introduction of a new ordinance.
Yes, Mayor. Introduction of new ordinance number 2723-13, an ordinance to amend Chapter 6 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Administration of Government. This ordinance will increase fees for ambulance services provided by the Maplewood Fire Department.
Can we get a motion, Ms. Leventhal? Excuse me.
Mayor, I move the ordinance be I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on Wednesday, June 5th, 2013.
Second.
Any discussion? Just alert everyone that the 5th is a Wednesday because of primary election on June 4th. The meeting is the 5th, so it's not our normal Tuesday night. Please call the roll on introduction.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to move to our discussion items, and the first will be the post office. And at our meeting earlier this month, we referred the plan to the planning board, and they met on the 8th or 9th it was. I'm sorry, they met on the 14th. And they went through the plan and were not able to finish their work that evening, but they've pretty much come to an agreement. And in response to the previous question, they have scheduled a meeting on the 28th, which is a week from tonight, to essentially memorialize the issues that were brought up on the 14th. Whether there's going to be additional discussion will be up to the chair of the planning board. But my sense was that most of it was going to be just the memorialization of the items that were raised. In addition, there were items that you saw from the Maplewood Village Alliance, and that I had sent you copies of my conversation with the planner, and that we had incorporated a lot of the suggestions, or this is still a work in progress, let's remember. We've incorporated a lot of their suggestions into a plan that's still being worked out. The plan is due back to us after the 28th. This is how I see the timeline going. Hopefully after the 28th, we will have the final comments from the planning board. We have the Maplewood Village Alliance comments. We have comments from Ms. DePalma. We have public comments. We have comments from our redevelopment council. I will work with our planner, Mr. Greigel, and some members of the Township Committee have also added some comments. We'll put together a final draft or a final proposal that will come to the Township Committee on June 5th. At the same time, it will go to the Planning Board for the Planning Board's meeting on June 11th. If we can introduce it on the 5th, no, I'm sorry, I don't think we want to introduce it. What we want to do is discuss it on the 5th, because we want to avoid introducing it and having to pay that money. So on the 5th, we'll have it on discussion, sort of a markup, if you will. We'll go through it. If there's any changes, we'll deal with it that night. On the 11th, we'll give the planning board another chance to take a look at it. And then my suggestion is on June 18th, which is the next meeting, second meeting in June, is we introduce it. It has to be introduced as an ordinance. At that point, it has to be published, and then we would be able to have a second reading on July 5th, I think it is. Or whatever the first meeting is in July. No, July 2nd, right, July 2nd.
The 4th is a Thursday.
Right. So July 2nd. And then after that, we will have an approved plan, which has had numerous layers of review. And at that point, we will then issue what we are contemplating right now is calling for requests for letters of interest. We use this process for The post office site, this essentially talks about what their interest is, what they've done in other places, a narrative of their concept, the layout, who are the key personnel members, their financial ability. It's essentially a request for qualifications. And then we get this, and the process after that is we meet with the developers, we talk about which we think are qualified, and then we have further meetings with them and narrow it down to getting proposals and getting concepts, and then at some point hopefully by the end of the year, we will have someone to recommend for designation as the developer for that site. Yes, Mr. Desiderio.
Mayor, for those members of the governing body who may not have been through this process...
You just sing a little louder.
Sorry. For those members of the governing body who may not have been through this process before, everything that the mayor said is absolutely correct, with the only caveat I would make is that what the planning board sends back to you is a recommendation. You are not compelled to accept that recommendation if you choose not to. So you have the right to listen to that and then to, amongst yourselves, determine whether or not you want to accept that recommendation that the planning board has made. A majority vote will carry the day as to whether you will accept that or not accept it. So what they're doing is reviewing for you and giving you the benefit of their expertise, but ultimately whether you choose to accept that or not is your decision. The only thing that the statute says is that you should articulate on the record why you chose not to accept that recommendation that they have made. So just for the purposes of those of you who may not have been through the process before.
Just to tell you, one of the big things that are going to come out as a recommendation is that the front of the building be limited to 2 stories on Maplewood Avenue, and that anything above that would be set back anything above 30 feet would be set back 1 foot for 1 foot on Maplewood Avenue. So you wouldn't have a building there that would be 3 stories high. It would be a maximum of 2 stories. And then the 3rd story would be set back at least essentially 10 feet. There would be a possibility of the area next to Village Coffee to have 4 stories because the land slopes down there. So you can almost fit a 4th story in a basement level. And we thought that might be an enticement to create some shops along there with a plaza and create connection to the other side of the park. And so that may actually be 4 stories there. If that is the case, that 4th story on that side would have to be pushed back 2 feet for every 1 foot above 40 feet. So we talked about the bike path in the back. We talked about a traffic study. A couple other things we talked about. One thing we talked about putting in the request for qualifications or the request for letters of interest is an interest in working with the developer to improve Rickleton Square, both the green park and the parking there. That's not in the territory right now, but there's nothing that says, as the owner of that property, that we cannot enter into an agreement with the developer to voluntarily make some contribution, either time or, work, to improve that area there. So, as I said, there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of input from various entities, and there will be more. Should remind the audience that when we talk about this on the 5th, there'll be an opportunity for people to get up here and talk. When we introduce it on the 11th, there'll be an opportunity for, not the 11th, 18th, sorry, for people to talk. And when we do a final consideration on the 2nd of July, we will have an official public hearing on the ordinance. So there's a lot more opportunity for folks to talk here, and there'll be at least 2 more meetings of the planning board for folks to talk. And I think that was going to be everything that I have. Unless people, yes, Mr. Brownlee?
Just one process question. Is the request for qualification step a filter to the request for letter of interest step?
It's the same. We look at it as the same. We've used both requests for qualifications and requests for letters of interest. It's essentially that we'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at what our request for qualifications and see if it's substantially different than the letter of interest. We're going to talk about this Thursday at the Economic Development Committee. We'll also have more opportunity because that's not going to go out until July, so we'll be able to bring it back here and talk about why we suggest going one way or the other. Okay? Okay. Next up is PSE&G site. There is a contract purchaser for the PSE&G site. As you know, it is a fairly large tract of land. We've been discussing it some, and we've received an interest from the developer actually a request from the developer for us to consider the area as an area in need of rehabilitation. This allows us to negotiate directly with that developer. It allows us to create a redevelopment plan that can specify what can be built there and what can't be built there. It also allows us to work on contributions, community contributions and things like that. I hope everyone received the copy of the letter from the process is that we hire a planner. The planner does a review, does a study, comes back and makes a report to the Township Committee as to whether or not the area meets the criteria of the state rehabilitation area designation. We then, I guess we approve that, and then we send it to the planning board. They have a meeting, and then they come back and give us their comments. So let's see if there's any questions. At the end of this, I'd like to get a motion to move forward on hiring a planner to evaluate this site. Let's see if there's any questions so far. And we can do this, just authorize Mr. Manning to hire Phillips Price Greigel to start this process?
Well, what I would suggest to you, and I don't know what your time frame is, Mayor, but I think that you probably should solicit a proposal from them as to what the cost would be before you make the final.
Okay, so let's do that. If we can get a motion to ask Mr. Manning to solicit a proposal from Phillips Price Greigel for designation of the PSE&G property as an area in need of rehabilitation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Could you move the flowers? I'm having. Where Maddie is bouncing
Maddie's
around.
headed
There
to
you
his
are.
one
Okay.
Sit on a phone.
Akita, so why is she hiding? What did you do wrong? Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, and then Mr. Manning, hopefully we can have that back at the next meeting and move forward on it, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The Women's Club. Probably a few things you might want to say about this, Mr. Ryan and Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ryan.
So I want to give the Township Committee and the public a report from the last meeting of the Women's Club Task Force, which was held on May 15th. As I think everyone's aware, as part of the process of getting ready to purchase this building, the Township commissioned and received a series of reports about the Women's Club. And on May 15th, we met and we discussed all these reports, and so I want to update you and ask you to make some decisions. We received a Phase 1 environmental report on April 16th, which talked about oil tanks and asbestos. As a result of that, it was recommended that a Phase 2 study be done to investigate the possibility of contaminated historic fill. You remember we had that discussion here, and we got that report back on May 3rd. We received a report about mold on April 24th, and we received an extensive report from an architectural consultant that we retained on the state of the building And we had that report analyzed in some detail by our engineering department, and all of those reports were reviewed and discussed in a several hours long meeting of the Women's Club Task Force on the 15th. So I want to summarize where we're at now and what decisions maybe have to be made. First of all, there's no contaminated historic fill. That's good. There's no need to be concerned there. There are no underground oil tank issues. In fact, we have a no further action letter from the DEP, so we're not concerned about underground oil storage tanks. There is asbestos in the building associated with the heating system and the pipes, and any work that would have to be done on the heating system and the pipes would also have to address any asbestos remediation at the same time. So, you know, there's an asbestos remediation number in this report. If you did everything, you'd spend all of that asbestos remediation money. If you only did, 50% of the things that asbestos was connected with, you'd only use half the remediation money. We were very worried at one point that those ceiling panels in the main theater were going to be containing asbestos, which would be a real nightmare. It turns out that those were tested and do not contain asbestos, so it's not a problem. There was a small amount of mold found, and the detailed analysis was that it's a problem that can be solved by basically addressing a leak issue that's causing the dampness and doing a cleanup, and with a minimal amount of work, any mold issues would be addressed. And then from the long architectural report, there's a long list of repairs and upgrades that we could choose to do. So I want to go through quickly, what our options are, what decisions we have to make, and what decisions remain to be done. We could, it is still an option, we could choose to tear the building down. Based on what we know right now, we could decide to tear the building down. It is not my sense that anyone on the Township Committee wants to do that. I don't want to do that, and I haven't heard anybody pounding on the table about wanting to do that, so I don't think that tearing the building down is on the table as far as the Township Committee is concerned. I'll pause for a moment if somebody wants to jump in and disagree. The engineering department determined, based on their analysis of these reports, that there's a series of what you might call must-do repairs, things that have to be done to the building, problems with mechanical systems, electrical systems, heating systems in the building. That comes to about $29,000. And we would have to do that, pretty much no matter what. Given that we've decided we're not tearing the building down, we have to at least spend that $29,000 for that near-term remediation. Then we could choose to spend another $50,000 or $100,000 to stabilize the building and mothball it, lock it up and not use it anymore. So that's another option. I'm not proposing that we do that. I don't hear a majority of the Township Committee thinking that we should mothball the building right now, so unless somebody speaks up, we're not going to talk about mothballing the building. So now we're faced with a situation of a long list of proposals, or a long list of suggested repairs that might have to be done, totaling as much as $1.75 million. However, it is not clear to me, and it's not clear to folks on the task force, and it's not clear to the engineering department that all of those things need to be done. That all of those things are necessary to do. And so what we are seeking to do, what we're directing the engineer to do, is to come up with a prioritized list from the larger $1.75 million list of things that are the bare minimum of things that have to be done for usability of the building, for the uses that we expect that the task force is going to recommend, the civic uses, the cultural uses, and the educational uses. So, for example, although the report talks about air conditioning the building, we're not going to air condition the building. The report talks about, a full elevator and, major renovations to the kitchen. Those things are not on the list to be done. So the list is smaller, and we need to refine the list with the help of the engineering department to determine what of those things should be done. Now, we have, from the existing building improvement fund and from leftover in the bond issue to purchase the building, the sum of approximately $200,000 available to put into repairs to the building. It is my suggestion that we direct the task force, we direct the engineering department to prioritize based on the potential uses of the building and do $200,000 worth of work. Do that $29,000 worth of repairs, do the downspout repair, fix the wall that has a little bit of water damage in it, do the mold cleanup, etc. Do whatever you can do for $200,000 and continue trying to refine the list as we go forward between where we're at now and where we think we might want to be once we issue an RFP and once we reach our ultimate goal of finding a property manager to partner with. So task force needs to continue. We need some direction from the Township Committee on the suggestion of spending that $200,000. And then there's a third thing, which I would raise here, although it's separate from that. We, as you know, are closing on the building next week. And for the last 8 or 9 months or so, there's a nonprofit organization that's basically been acting as a caretaker of the building, paying the utilities and such like that. We're not yet ready to negotiate what long-term deal with a property manager we might come up with. We're not yet ready to, we haven't finished the task force's work, we haven't finished that report, we haven't got enough public input, but we do have a near-term need between when we close and when we get to that point. So it's my suggestion that we direct the business administrator to negotiate with the nonprofit that's currently acting as the caretaker of the building, building manager, HK Community Fund, to continue that effort on a month-to-month basis until such time as we come up with a better, or maybe not better, but a more finalized long-term strategy.
Or the end of the year.
Or the end of the year, yes, not to exceed the end of the year. We do want to move the task force forward pretty quickly. So that's the report. If you have questions about it, I'll be happy to entertain them. I would suggest that we vote to direct staff to go ahead with the prioritization and the $200,000 worth of repairs, the high-end things that need to be done immediately, which are fairly obvious, and that we that we direct Mr. Manning to get some negotiations going to continue on a month-to-month basis with the current manager of the building until such time as we come up with our final contract.
Let me make a couple of comments. One, I want to be clear about the purchase price because it's been reported incorrectly. The purchase price is $1,004,100. It's not $1.2 million. It's $1,004,100. The pilot that exists right now is not $55,000 a year. It is $6,000 a year. And that's actually been paid for 2013 already, so that has been incorrectly reported. We are closing on the building on May 29th, which is next week. You may have seen that we striped the building. We thought it was prudent, since we already had an agreement for closing, and since we had the striping crew in town doing striping throughout the town, and since we are about to start public parking there, to have that lot striped at the same time. And so we worked out an agreement with the Women's Club to get an easement to go on there and do, or to get permission to go on there and do that. So we're moving forward with this. Mr. Ryan and Ms. Leventhal have been putting together the operational side. We think we have an agreement now, or we hope we can get an agreement with the HK Fund to be at least temporarily in charge of running the building. There's no one here on the Township Committee that wants to mothball the building right now. There's no one here on the Township Committee that wants to have an interruption in the service of that building. We want to be able to use it as soon as possible after May 29th as a community facility. So those are, we're moving forward. Now, on the architect's proposal, which is 1.7 or 1.8 million, 1.75, I mean, that's the architect's proposal. That is not the Township Committee's proposal. As many renovation projects that one might do in their own home, sometimes the architect or the contractor comes in with a number that's much higher than you're willing to spend. We are not going to spend that kind of money. Anybody putting out there that we are is wrong. So we are moving forward. I think Mr. Ryan made it clear we're going to start off with $200,000. We're going to narrow down what we need to do in that building. We're going to make sure it's safe and it's usable, and we have some ideas that we're going to work with our professionals to see how we can move forward with that building. Anybody want to make a comment? Yes, Ms. Leventhal.
Unless there's a comment specifically on what was already said, I'd like to add from the meeting that something we've already discussed here, which is to have public input on the possible.
Could I just ask, I mean, I'd just like us to take a formal vote on the direction.
That's a good idea.
Before we go ahead to, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
Mr. Desiderio, let's just make sure that what we're doing here, we'd like to get a motion to instruct Mr. Manning to enter into an operational agreement with the HK Fund to be the manager of the Women's Club building
Through
the end of the year.
On a month-to-month basis.
On a month-to-month basis,
Not to exceed
the end of the year.
Yes.
Can we get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
And further on the 200,000. I think we should probably-
Mr. Ryan has a motion to instruct Mr. Manning to work with our professionals to move forward on the prioritization of the repairs utilizing the capital money that we have for that project. Mr. Ryan moves it.
So moved.
Ms. Leventhal seconds. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
My apologies for interrupting, Ms. Leventhal.
Ms.
Just so
Leventhal,
that
you want to talk
sure we're
about
clear.
the format for public input?
Sure. We had discussed having public input on ideas for the use of the building. There, at the meeting, another possible way of doing that was discussed. The original way was to have it at a township committee meeting, setting aside 20 minutes. And the other idea is to set up, probably at the Bergdorf, like we did for the parking study, where people can come in, see drawings of the building, and dialogue with us. It's time to do this one way or the other. I'm suggesting that we could have it at a township committee on the 5th of June, or we could go over to the Bergdorf probably like the 6th of June, in my discussions with the engineer.
Or the Women's Club, for that matter.
Yes, or the Women's Club. We have heard from nonprofits, we have heard from historic preservation, for example, from other professionals here in the township, but I think it's now time to see if there are any creative ideas that Maplewoodians who are very creative can bring forward. So either way, and I ask you to please, speak out loud about what you think of the two different kinds of venues, and we'll see where we.
So the proposal is to have a format for public input in early June where folks it would be sort of a workshop session where people would be able to give and take.
And if it were one thing that Mr. Malavasi and I were thinking about is that it could be an open house kind of venue from 4 to 7, so people coming off the train can come, the businesses in the village would be able to stop by, etc.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Do you think we need a motion to do that? Let's make a motion to move forward with that, just so it's official that we'll have some type of format, a public input forum in early June.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Ms. Leventhal.
No, go ahead.
Is the intent that this is going to be an open public meeting?
I think there may be more than 3 Township Committee people there.
All right,
Yes.
so
it
you
would have
just
to
have to leave sufficient time to allow Ms. Fritzen and her office to notice it. That's all
Okay.
I was gonna bring to your attention.
Okay, she's away now, but the office can take care of
Yeah.
that? Okay.
What you do is pick a date, and then we can just notice it.
Okay, so we're talking about outside a formal township committee?
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Meeting.
be noticed as a township committee meeting.
Right, but outside the first and third weeks of the month, we would do this.
Yeah, it's sort of like our noticing we talk to the Township Committee, that we're going to be at the women, wherever we're going to have this on such and such a date. It's an open public meeting. I don't think there's going to be any action taken, so we usually say that. Usually, it's just that when we have more than 3, we have to notice that we'll be there,
Okay, yes.
unless we have a chance meeting.
We're expecting more than 3.
Right. Well, actually, you could utilize the notice for the community meeting that you all had at the library. Same type thing. Okay, so is there a motion to do this?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Just one thing I want to put out publicly on the table for you all to think about. Many events at the Women's Club now involves alcohol. And as a public building, we would have to make an affirmative act, or take affirmative action to include that on the list. Because the only place right now where you can have alcohol is the Bergdorf Center, 1978, and the library.
Do we have a specific date for the meeting?
We just said early June, we're gonna
You're all
pick,
right.
We'll find a date.
You're gonna find a date.
Mayor, I just want to clarify one thing. Mr. Manning is going to go back to the professionals, Mr. Malavasi, Mr. Mittermeier, and work up that list. He's going to have to come back to you at that point, and you're going to have to authorize probably a request for bids. We have to put specifications together because,
Well,
given
yeah.
the amounts that I don't want the public to get the impression that this work's going to be done without the bid process, because that's obviously
Oh, no,
not the
no.
case.
Right.
No. I mean, some of it might be below the threshold, but whatever has to be put out to bid has to be put out to bid, of course. And any guidance that Mr. Malavasi needs or Mr. Manning needs, we can channel that through the Planning and Engineering Committee. Okay? Can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on any item? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Laria?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, we have our second public comment period. Is there anyone who'd like to address the Township Committee? Go ahead. Just name and address.
Yeah, my name is John Harvey, and I live at 8 Inwood Place here in Maplewood. First of all, Vic, thank you for being forthcoming with some numbers at a public hearing. I appreciate that. Secondly, I guess what confuses me about the process that the Township Committee has taken with the Women's Club, and I said this in a post, so I'm sure some of you understand this, is if you were each purchasing an investment property, okay, with your own money, with your own investment money, and knew that you had remediation costs and knew that you weren't quite sure what you were going to do with the building in the end. My question is, why would you close without that information? Why would you move forward and not have, there's questions that are unanswered, like who is the partner? What's the revenue you're going to generate from this property? What's the impact on taxpayers? I mean, we're talking about it could be $29,000 and it could be $1.7 million. Yet you folks are insistent on making a purchase and investing taxpayer dollars on a piece of property that you don't have the answers for. And I suggest that if you were spending your own money on this investment, you, your spouse or significant other would call this an incredibly reckless approach to making an investment. So I'm stunned that we don't have the information. I say, what's the rush? Trust me, nobody is going to jump in and take the property from under you, okay? Even if you have to lease it for 6 months. And I think for you to sit here as elected officials and to be making decisions with taxpayer money and making commitments with taxpayer money with not knowing all of the information is reckless. Okay? My last point, and thank you for explaining some of the striping thing. I think striping a lot between 2:30 and 6:30 behind a resident's house is incredibly inconsiderate. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the Township Committee? Parking on Parker?
Parking on...
You need your name and address.
Oh, Mike McKee, 526 Summit Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. Parking on Parker, above Prospect. It just seems the street's too narrow to allow parking during that time, and it just causes a lot of congestion. So,
Sorry to interrupt, but could you just, when you say above Prospect, is that east-west toward the high school, toward Irvington?
no, if you're going towards Irvington from the high school.
Got it.
I don't think you're allowed to park on Parker or near the high school. I know across the street they go into the side streets, but I don't know if there's any signs that allow you to actually park there, even though people do. But above Prospect, it's just a nightmare. And the only other thing would be not blocking the intersections. There just seemed that, coming up to that light, there's no consideration. So a sign would be nice to say, not block the intersection, because it just snakes its way all the way up Parker as it goes.
Do you think they're high school, either students or faculty?
Oh, I don't know. It could be parents bringing their kids there. Kids from the high school actually park up on Summit. Summit's a pretty wide road, and it's actually used as another artery with Prospects backed up, so people are flying down there. I mean, it'd be great if we could shut down all those little Summit streets in between, what is that road? It's Parker,
Midland,
and then
Elmwood.
Elmwood. Like, fill that land in, give them the land, and then not have those little streets, because they're very narrow too. Like, you can't even fit 2 cars going down Summit. It's extremely tight.
Especially that one part of Summit on the other side. Elmwood.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
I tell you what, Mr. Manning, let's put a note down, ask the engineer to take a look at this and give us a report at the next planning and engineering meeting. This is the parking on Parker, east of Prospect Street.
Yeah.
Yes.
In considering this, there is, the parking regulations in the area, and maybe even on Summit, are 2 hours. And people throughout the area are not getting ticketed if they park longer than 2 hours.
Well, how about, let's just do it, maybe you can give us an analysis of all the regulations there so we understand, and then we can take a look at the ticketing.
The parking, the uniform parking in the town sometimes doesn't seem to be, in town you're only allowed to park, 2 hours if you're shopping and stuff?
Yes.
I don't know how that's being monitored, or the 4 parking spaces for electric cars across the street always seem to be filled by cars other than electric cars,
It's only till 9 o'clock.
I know, but it's 5 to 9, you should just make it like the whole day, that whole thing, so.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
Hello again, Dave Helmkamp. I wanted to talk a little bit about the comment process for the post office as we head into it. I would make a distinction between the Township Committee meetings on the 18th and the 7th, right? June 18th and July 2nd.
Second.
And just public comment in general.
Hey, Dave, I'm sorry. Would you just mind getting a little closer to the microphone?
Oh, sure.
I apologize. Thanks.
You can hear my voice fine.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah, that sounds better. We've had a lot of public meetings, a lot of input, but I think if you step back from that a little bit, that input, the public input, has really been one way. And even at the 3rd meeting, it wasn't on the document itself. Right? I don't think, I for one, considered the 3rd meeting kind of an update. It wasn't like, really, here's what I'm thinking, or here's what we're thinking, and you guys at large give us your thoughts. And in fact, that meeting was kind of subdued relative to the other ones. Not as much dialogue among the audience or with Paul. The planning board meeting last week is a good venue for that sort of thing because it does facilitate dialogue more, and members of the public can actually hear if there is a resolution, and there often is, and I mean, of course, an agreement, and there often is, they can hear the rationale. There were 5 members of the public at the planning board meeting. I was one of them. 2 of them were there on the same topic. They had submitted some of the material you heard earlier today. The other 2 were from the same household. So I think we had 3 members of the public effectively at the planning board meeting. And my concern is that when we come back here starting on the 18th or July 2nd, that the process is too formal and that the general public will really not know which of their inputs affected what part of the decision process, and for that matter, don't really know how to read that document. In the sense that they just don't really understand what it... But to give you an example, if I spoke to maybe 20 people this week, I would say that none of them knew about the planning board meeting. I don't think any of them understood, and Vic, you've repeated it over and over again at recent Township meetings, the sequence here on out. And most significantly, I don't think they understand the significance of it in the sense that once it becomes ordinance, then it's zoning as anything else. And then next opportunity to provide input is really, aside from being an especially formal process, is also considerably limited because now it's a developer's matter of right, as it's in the ordinance. I don't believe any of that is widely understood in the community. And I don't think that the quality of the input that you'll get, first of all, my main concern is that the exchange here on the 18th and the 2nd is much more formal. It'll be back and forth as I'm speaking to you now. There'll be very little interaction with the audience. And in fact, you guys aren't even obliged to respond in that context. So I really think there's a need in order for that process to go well, and for it to be an informed process by the public, and perhaps even less emotional than it often is, that some other venue needs to take place afterwards, public meeting number 4, where it's the document that's discussed. Paul explains the inputs he got and the rationale for the results, and you hear whether or not the general public thinks that it's what they meant at the prior 2 meetings. I don't think where we're at now, and because we're entering the more formal process, I think last Tuesday may have been the last chance for the public to truly dialogue on what the document is. And it didn't happen.
Are you asking for some additional mechanism for input, or are you asking for a better mechanism for readout?
Well,
because I'm not sure, you know what I mean?
I think there's a need for the public to have the key sections of that document explained to them, and for them to react to that. I think there's a need for some materials to support that dialogue, like diagrams of what the bulk and the mass results would be, just rough sketches, what the elevation effects are, so that people can visualize it. And what comes out of it? Well, I guess it's really it's ultimately up to you guys as to whether you want Paul to incorporate more of that. But I don't think that the input that you received at the first and second meetings you don't know whether those people believe that the document reflected those inputs. And I'm concerned that if there's any uncertainty about that this forum will not be there won't be enough time, it'll be too structured, won't be enough dynamic to it.
Well, we had 3 community meetings, as you say, and the third one was a report out, a testing of some, and we got some feedback that what we reported out should be changed, and we went back and changed it. And then we met with the Village Alliance Board, and we got some more feedback. And, you know, we've had about 50 people at each of those community meetings. Some, like yourself, were at all three, and some were different.
That's right. And yet, when the process begins now, where the document is finally out before people, you had 3 people at the planning board.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm not sure.
And that's because I don't think anyone knew about it.
I don't know, I mean,
haven't
you
met a
know,
single person.
Patch was out there posting, and there was a story in the News Record.
I know. That one story came out after the meeting occurred, because it publishes on Thursday. There was one that was...
But one came out
it
before, and
quoted-
one came
it
out
quoted
after.
You know, describing the
Right.
the
One
next
came out
steps.
before, and one came out after. So, you know, believe me, we've had meetings here where no one shows up.
This is...
You know, we just had a budget meeting, a budget hearing tonight, and no one said anything about the budget, and that's taxes.
Yeah.
So you know, at some point, we have to move to this process. There are going to be 2 more. There's this meeting on the 28th of the Planning Board. There's the meeting of June 11th of the Planning Board. And, you know, we have to, there's a certain responsibility of moving the process along in a formal way, because that's how we have to give everybody a shot.
Right.
So, you know, we put the stuff up on the board, on our website. We've gotten a lot of input from different people.
I believe that the public meetings were more widely advertised, certainly, than the planning board meeting was.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, because as you say, I've been saying what we've been doing, so it's been pretty clear.
That was your argument a minute ago, is that sometimes people aren't listening to these meetings. That's a
I think some
reality.
people just don't come to meetings.
That's true.
Some people just don't come to meetings.
Well, that's true, and it's a
Okay,
reality
and so,
today, but...
so I'm not sure what the solution is.
Well,
To have another meeting where nobody's
yeah,
gonna come?
I believe that there's a need to have a general meeting, advertise a meeting where the document will be explained to the layperson in the community.
And that's what we did.
No, an outline for the document was described. I mean, the document, so that when...
I disagree with you.
So that when people who are interested show up here, they will have the background to that document, and you will have facilitated it by briefing them over an hour or 2, as opposed to expecting them to read the document. My feeling is that almost everyone in the community knows about Mayfest. In fact, I think everyone in the community knew it was canceled by noon. There were email messages, there was proactive publication. I don't think the public understands what's happening over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Site. I think the process would be better if there was a more informed general public.
Well, you know, I just want to say we did put the plan up on the website. The plan was out there. It was out there before the meeting. We said we were going to put out another document on the 1st. We did that. And then we had the meeting. So, you know, I understand what you're saying. It just doesn't always work that way.
I know, but I'm just a guy at large, and I'm telling you that people...
And you
I
come to
talk-
the meetings.
And I'm telling you, the people I talk to don't know these basic facts.
People I talk to sometimes tell me that too.
Yeah, but
So-
this is too important. I believe it's too important.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Yes,
I was,
you have to give us your name, Ruth. and-
yeah, Ruth Ross. I live on Maplewood Avenue. I've lived in Maplewood for many years. I'm encouraged to come up because of my predecessor. And the questions that I have are certainly regarding not only the post office, but more information about the Women's Club. I have to say my computer has been down and out for a while, and that seemed to be the primary source for getting information. I do happen to know that there are people who don't have computers. There are people who need another resource to find out information about the post office, the Women's Club. I had some concerns about the issue of alcohol at the Women's Club. I guess that's because I live next to a a restaurant that serves liquor. And it's not always clear where to get the information, including some of the issues in the discussion and plans about the post office, which I will say I was kind of upset about. I still don't know how can I, or where is the access for the presentation or the conclusion or whatever exists about the postal service in the village. So yeah, I have some, some similar feelings about the availability of information clearly and specifically in terms of meetings, resolutions, and so forth.
Just as a matter of practice, when we post these reports up on the website, we have a hard copy at the clerk's office so that someone could come and take a look at it. Is that right, Mr. Manning?
And typically the library.
And usually we keep a hard copy at the library and at the clerk's office here. If someone wanted to come and read the report or read something.
But I have to know that there's something
Yes.
there. I mean,
Yes.
I wouldn't go there to ask
Well,
for a report if I didn't
gets,
know that.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. We have moved now mostly to a computer internet form of communication.
Yeah, and I do have objections to that.
Well, I would say this, we have a Maplewood leaflet, and the Maplewood leaflet is a newsletter that we now have as an electronic newsletter. And it used to be print, and now it's electronic. But we do have a way, Mr. Manning, what's the process?
She just needs to either give me her name and address on a piece of paper, or come to our office and give it to us, or
Okay.
call us up.
So if someone would like a hard copy of our quarterly newsletter, they can ask us for it, and we will send them a quarterly, it's the Maplewood leaflet. And in there, we put information out about these things, too.
And so where do I go to give
You can give them information to Mr. Manning.
I will give my name and address tonight.
But you are right, we have moved mostly to internet.
And it was frustrating enough for me with having the computer in La La Land for however long that was. But it's even more frustrating to then find that, all the information that's the only place that it's available. And I do look at the various bulletin boards in town. I read the Maplewood South Orange News Record for information as well. So I certainly look for hard copy is still important for me. All right, thank you for
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Seeing no one, will close the second public comment period. Reports from departments. We received the April 2013 construction official report, or the monthly report from Mr. Mittermeier. Administrative reports, Mr. Manning.
Yes, one of the things, I have 3 items. And first is, I want to remind the public that we do have a website, www.maplewoodnj.org. We keep that pretty up to date on all of our reports, all of our news releases, etc. And they can go there, they can sign up for news releases or for us to notify them in case of emergency. And the hurricane season starts on June the 1st, so I want to remind people to go to our website if you haven't already, or if you want to add additional cell lines or work numbers for notifications under our code red. So if you have anything out there, if there's a question in any way, you can go and look for the information. If you can't find the answer, you can email us. Our extended Tuesday hours, tonight was the last one for the summer, and they will return in September, so I want to notify the public. And lastly, well, 2 actually, Maplewood municipal offices are closed for Memorial Day. That's this Monday. Wait, what is today? Yes, this Monday. Yes, came quick. This Monday, May 27th. So we are closed. Our municipal offices, public safety functions, of course, are not closed. Police department and fire department. And lastly, I think this is the weekend the pool opens. It's the first year that we're going to be opening at this time of the year. So hopefully we'll have good weather. So that's it, unless there are some questions.
Did you want to just repeat for folks about the schedule for moving this committee's meetings for the summer?
Yes, in July, August, and September, this committee, this township committee meetings, normally held in this room, will be moving to air-conditioned quarters over at the police court building in the municipal court. It will also be, we have electronic devices, so it will go out live as it does here, but that's where we'll be.
Mrs. Larrier.
Yes, I couldn't recall when the farmer's market begins.
It begins on June the 6th, Monday, June the 6th, and it will continue through the last...
June's,
oh,
that's not...
all right, so then, all right, hold on. Hey. All right, it is June the 3rd. I'm sorry. It's, no. I'm sorry. It's June 10th. June 10th, it begins. All right? Check our website. June 10th, and it goes through October, the last Monday in October. It's 2 to 7. It's at the corner of Indiana and Springfield Avenue. Our two farmers are back. Hoboken Farms is back. And I think we have 1 or 2 additional new vendors that are coming. Thank you for reminding us.
Mr. Manning.
Yes, sir.
We did some tree trimming and cutting in Maple Crest Park last week. And I got a call from a neighbor who I thought had a good suggestion that when we're to do this stuff, I think it would be useful if we just posted on our website that we will be in Maple Crest Park. I think we should post when we're doing some tree cutting, and I spoke to Mr. Burbank today, and he told me that he's going to be doing like 200 tree plantings. I think it would be good to talk about both the plantings and the cuttings. So just to let people know that, you know, during this month or during this time period, we'll be in the park, Maple Crest, Memorial, wherever, doing this work so that people know.
Very good idea, and we will implement that.
Thank you. Yes.
Speaking of cutting, the post office. I'm noting that the grass in front of the post office is growing extraordinarily long.
We'll report it.
Sure. Can we advise
Well,
somebody about that?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely. I didn't notice it, but we will.
I mean, it's like this long.
Yeah.
Well, they're moving out.
Yeah, well, if they don't cut it between now and November, it's...
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Manning. Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
Mr. Desiderio.
Mayor, just one item. Mr. Rowe and I have been discussing the massage ordinance. There are some changes that have to be implemented due to state statute that now licenses massage therapists. So we will have something for you in draft at the next meeting. So I'd ask that that be listed as a discussion item if we can, please.
Yes?
Discussion
Did
item?
you
Yes?
have that down, discussion item of the massage
Very good.
ordinance? Anything for Mr. Desiderio?
And Mayor, I don't know if someone else is going to report it, but the closing for the Women's Club will be on Wednesday, May 29th.
Right. Thank you. Ms. Smith, any reports?
No report, sir.
Thank you. Anything for clerk's office? Great. Okay, reports from elected officials. Ms. Leventhal.
Just to mention that I attended the Community Coalition on Races. How are we doing evening? Very well attended and very well planned out. The feedback was quite extensive, and Community Coalition will be examining all of that. The board will be taking some actions.
Mr. Ryan.
I have no report, Mayor. Thank you.
Mrs. Larrier.
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Brownlee.
say happy anniversary to my wife, and I'll be home soon.
We're trying to get you home. Smart. Unfortunately, I have 7 items. No.
Mayor, is Mr. Brownlee trying to convince us his wife's actually watching?
I hope not. I hope
I know,
she's doing
Mrs.
something
Brownlee
better.
seems like a very smart lady. I am certain she's not watching.
I hope she's doing something better. I have quick 4 items. The Mayfest is Sunday, the 26th. As we heard earlier, same time, just want to remind you, Memorial Day is Monday, the 27th. We'll have the parade here and then the ceremony. I don't want you to think I'm wimping out, but there is going to be the jitney in the parade, and I am going to have to ride in part of it because my ankle is just not there yet. So please,
Maybe the rest of the township
maybe you
committee
all
would
want to
consider
ride with me.
Maybe we'd carry you.
You all might want to ride with me. I just can't make that.
So we're going to be in
Maybe the 2
If
young
you
members
like-
of the township committee would
If you
carry
like,
you.
rickshaw kind of thing or some bike taxi, that would be fine. Okay, I'll just ride the jitney.
Yeah, there's a reason you speak last, right? So, okay.
Yeah. Thursday, 7 p.m. at the high school is the Library Centennial Quiz Bowl. And I have the questions right here. I do, but sorry, they're going right here.
You wouldn't help out like your fellow township
No, I
committee
will
members who
not.
have a team.
I will not. My purpose of being the MC is to try to embarrass my colleagues as much as possible.
You won't have to work too hard, don't worry.
And lastly, I did contact New Jersey Transit about speaking to the new concierge at the station. As you know, there is a challenge to the bidding, so they were reluctant to talk much further until that gets straightened out. But once that gets straightened out, we'll have a conversation with whoever the final successful vendor is. And with that, we will get a motion to adjourn
So
and
moved.
meet again on June 5th.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
I'm out.